All right, so we're going to do a little bit of one-point perspective drawing today. We're going to do a cube and a letter T in one-point perspective. So a lot of times when you see perspective drawing, you see like the famous pictures that, not famous, but if you Google one-point perspective, you'll see a lot of like train tracks. So pictures like this. So pictures kind of like this, where you see that we have like train tracks that are going into the distance, kind of vanishing away. Here's a kind of like a main street. You can see that the street is kind of going into the horizon back here. There's plenty of examples. You could even draw a room in one-point perspective, and this vanishing point is kind of like where the drawings lead to. Usually, sometimes when you do one-point perspective, like the official way to do it is to draw where the horizon is. And the horizon is where the Earth meets the sky, and that's somewhere on your horizon is going to be a vanishing point. For our class, we're just going to kind of arbitrarily decide where a vanishing point is. Oh, here's a cool one. That's pretty cool. It looks like the vanishing point is probably somewhere over here in this drawing. And all of the kind of the depth lines meet at the vanishing point. So that's the idea for one-point perspective. You got a vanishing point, and everything kind of meets at that vanishing point, and that's at the horizon somewhere. So let's start by making a cube in one point. So whenever you draw in perspective drawing, you want to kind of start with the face of the object that you're trying to draw. And then we'll go ahead and put the vanishing point. This would be on the horizon somewhere, but we're just going to kind of arbitrarily pick it to be over here. You can put it wherever you want, over here, over here. You can put it down there if you want to, but we're choosing to put it on the right side for this drawing. And it's not that hard to do. You just kind of find the edges, or the corners, I should say, and you draw a construction line, so a light line through your vanishing point at each corner. Now, technically, you could also do one down here from this corner to the vanishing point. But we're not going to do that because that would be a hidden line. It'd be a line that would sort of be like behind the cube, so we're not going to actually do that today. And then once you've drawn these lines, these are like the depth lines. We're going to go ahead and draw our horizontal and vertical portions of the lines. And I'm just going to kind of pick right about here to do our, that's going to be how deep the cube goes. And then I'm going to go horizontally over. Notice that there are some lines here that are parallel and some that aren't. So all these lines are horizontal lines. Those are all parallel. All of these lines are vertical lines. Those are all parallel. But all of your depth lines are not parallel. So like that's not parallel, this one's not parallel, and that's not parallel with anything. And that's the real difference between a one-point perspective and an oblique or an isometric drawing. In an oblique, if we were going to do like an oblique drawing, we would go kind of we would go at a 45-degree angle back like this, and all of our lines would be well, if I drew it right, all of the lines would be parallel with some other line. Not a very good one, but you can kind of imagine that this line, that line is parallel, and that line should be parallel. And then all the rest of them, here the horizontals are parallel, and the verticals are parallel, right? This is a horizontal. So in an oblique, everything's parallel. Even in an isometric drawing, if I was doing an isocube, you'd start with the corner, and you'd go back at 30 degrees, and you draw it like this, right? Everything is parallel on this one too, right? It's just kind of they're at a slightly different angle. So we got our verticals, our horizontal, and horizontal. We don't really have any horizontal, so we're going at a 30-degree angle. So these are parallel, and these are parallel. So everything's parallel in an isometric and an oblique. We have a bunch of parallel lines. In a one-point or any perspective drawing, you're going to have a few lines that are not parallel, the ones I did with X's. So that's a cube. Let's do a letter T in a one-point perspective. Wait, I forgot one thing. We have to go ahead and erase some of our construction lines to kind of finish this drawing off. So, oops, try that again. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of just erase the construction lines that are near my object, just to kind of clean it up a little bit, you know, make it look nice. Keep these construction lines, they're kind of like proof that you actually drew it, like showing your work almost. Okay, let's make our T. So T is a little bit more complicated because you got more corners to deal with. But remember, I'm not asking you to do any hidden lines, so you kind of have to just use your head when you're doing this. I'm going to put the vanishing point over here. Remember, it's kind of arbitrary for our drawings. If you were doing this for real, you'd put the vanishing point on the horizon. So let's just pick a few corners to deal with, corners that we know will produce depth lines that are going to be visible. For example, this line, most of this construction line will be visible. A good amount of it will be. As will this one and this one. I got another corner right here that should also be visible for most of the object, for a good amount of it. All right, so we've drawn our construction lines. Similar to the cube, now we have to kind of gauge our depth here. So I'm going to kind of make our depth like this deep. All right, so I put a vertical line here. It should be parallel. These lines should be parallel. And then I'm going to do a horizontal line here that should be parallel with this bad boy. So these should be parallel. And then I got to do one more. I got to do the depth of this part of the T. And so I'm going to try to go the same depth that I did for the other one. So I don't know, about this far. All right. And then, good. So you can kind of see the T right now. We just have to sort of erase our construction lines carefully. So I'm going to take my eraser and I'm just going to kind of erase some of the lines. I don't need to erase all of them. So I'm just going to clean it up. And there we go. So there's our T. So this looks kind of like an isometric T, but the way that you know it's not it looks like an oblique T, kind of, but the way you know it's not an oblique is that we have some lines that are not parallel to anything. These lines are not parallel to any other line. Even this one, it's hard to tell, but these two lines are not parallel. The way you know is that they come to a point. So the lines that I just drew right here, or that I was just highlighting, those lines at some point intersect. All your construction lines are intersecting, so you know that they can't be parallel with one another because they intersect eventually. And all these lines, all these depth lines intersect at the vanishing point. So that's how you know it's a perspective drawing and not an ISO. So there you go. There's 1 point perspective for a cube and a T.